My name is Amber Flores. I'm 35 years old, and I used to believe the worst thing that could happen in a relationship was betrayal. I was wrong. The worst thing is realizing you were never a person to them, just a role, a prop, a punchline. Ethan and I had been together for 3 years. We moved in after 1 year, and 6 months ago, he proposed with a ring that cost enough to make my stomach twist when I saw the receipt later. Not because I didn't love him, but because I knew what sacrifice looked like. I'm a forensic accountant. My job is digging through lies, finding the missing money, the quiet fraud, the details people think nobody will notice. The pay is great, but it comes with a brutal schedule. 3 or 4 days a week, I'm living out of airports and hotel rooms, surviving on bad coffee and the hope that normal life is waiting at home. Ethan told me he understood. He said he admired my work ethic. He said he was proud of me. That's what made it worse, because on the morning everything broke, I believed him. I was supposed to fly out for a 3-day trip. Seattle. Typical client meetings. Nothing dramatic. My flight was at 10 a.m. and I was already dressed. Hair pulled back, blazer on, suitcase by the garage door, when my phone rang. My client's number. I answered, expecting a last-minute itinerary change. Instead, a strained voice said, "Amber, our CFO had a heart attack overnight. They've postponed everything." Just like that, the trip was canceled. No flights, no hotel, no conference rooms. Just home. I texted Ethan from the garage. Trip canceled. Coming back upstairs. No response. I didn't think anything of it. He was probably in the shower, or half awake, or doing that thing he always did, scrolling through his phone like the world couldn't touch him until he'd had his coffee. Our condo had a split-level layout. You entered on the lower floor through the garage, then climbed a short staircase to the main living space. I started up with my suitcase rolling behind me, and halfway up the stairs, I heard his voice, laughing. Too bright, too casual, like somebody performing happiness. He was on the phone. Speakerphone, because Ethan loved speakerphone. He liked sounding like he had nothing to hide. The bathroom fan hummed. I could hear the water running faintly, like he was getting ready while talking, pacing from mirror to counter, probably wearing that smug expression he used whenever he was gossiping. I was about to call out, "Ethan?" when I heard my name. "And Amber has no idea," he said, voice loud over the fan. "None. She's so busy being responsible and grown-up that she doesn't even see what's right in front of her." My suitcase handle went stiff in my hand. I froze on the stairs, just out of his sightline, and then he said it. "I still sleep with Nadia whenever Amber's out of town." Time didn't stop in a dramatic movie way. It stopped in a quiet way, like the air got sucked out of my lungs and forgot to come back. A second voice, female, laughed on the other end. I recognized her immediately. Sienna, his old college friend, the one who always smiled too wide at me, like she was trying to prove something. "Shut up," Sienna said, delighted. "You do not." "I absolutely do," Ethan replied, and I could hear the smile in his voice. That disgusting, confident smile. "Nadia and I have an arrangement. Amber's gone all the time. It's like the perfect setup. I get stability, gifts, someone to come home to. Nadia gets the fun without the commitment." I swallowed hard, but it felt like swallowing glass. Sienna squealed, "Ethan, you are so bad." And he laughed like he'd just been complimented. "You should have seen Amber when I proposed," he continued, all teary-eyed like it was a movie, like she actually believed in it. My fingers curled around the stair railing so tight my knuckles went pale. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I just listened while the man I loved dissected me like entertainment. Sienna said, "Okay, but that ring though, you really went all out." "Oh, don't remind me," Ethan said. "That ring cost me nearly 3 months of salary. 2-carat princess cut, platinum band, custom setting. Amber thinks it means I'm serious." He lowered his voice, like sharing a secret. "Nadia nearly choked laughing when I showed her the pictures. Like, can you believe she fell for that?" Something inside me cracked so cleanly I almost admired it. Because in that moment, the pain didn't come from the cheating. It came from the contempt. The casual way he said my name like it tasted bitter. The way my love was a joke that made other people laugh. Sienna asked, "So what happens when Amber starts pushing for a wedding date?" Ethan didn't hesitate. "I'll figure something out. A job opportunity, a transfer, some excuse. I'm good at making people believe what I want them to believe." He said people, not women. Not Amber. Just people. Like I wasn't human enough to deserve a category of my own. I backed down a step silently, suitcase barely making a sound. My heart was pounding so hard I thought the vibration would give me away. But Ethan kept talking and laughing and bragging. And I realized something with cold clarity. If I confronted him, he would perform. Tears, denial, love bombing, a story crafted to make me doubt my own ears. I wasn't going to hand him that stage. So I walked back down the stairs, quiet, controlled. I put my suitcase back in the garage, got into my car, and drove to a coffee shop 5 minutes away like I was just running an errand. I sat in a corner booth for 20 minutes, staring at the same crack in the tabletop, listening to the espresso machine scream like it was furious on my behalf. I didn't cry. Not yet. My body hadn't decided what emotion was safest. But my brain was already building a plan. First thing, I needed something crucial from the condo. The ring. That ring wasn't a symbol of love anymore. It was evidence. I checked the time, 9:15 a.m. Ethan would leave for work soon. I waited until I was sure he'd be gone, until my phone finally pinged with a useless text from him that said, "Heading out, love you." My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. I drove back, unlocked the door, walked inside like a stranger, returning to a house that no longer belonged to her. I went straight to the bedroom where Ethan kept the ring at night in a small wooden box on the dresser. I opened it. There it was, perfect, glittering, innocent. For a second, I just stared, because 6 months ago, I'd looked at that ring and thought, this is my future. Now all I could think was, this is my exit receipt. I took it. Then I grabbed only what mattered, my passport, my birth certificate, an external drive with my financial records. The things you take when you're not coming back. At the front door, I paused, looking at the condo, like it might suddenly explain itself. Like the walls might whisper, "You misunderstood. This isn't real." But the silence stayed silent. And I stepped out anyway, because when someone shows you who you are to them, believe it. Even if it ruins you. I didn't go back to the coffee shop. I went somewhere worse, somewhere quieter. My best friend Marisol lived across town in a building with a doorman who didn't ask questions. When I showed up with a tote bag and a face that probably looked like I'd been drained of blood, she didn't push. She just opened the door and said softly, "Amber, what happened?" "I can't talk about it yet," I whispered. And it was the truth. Because if I spoke the words out loud, they became real in a way I wasn't ready to survive. Marisol pulled me inside, sat me on her couch, and handed me a glass of water like she was grounding someone in shock. I stared at my reflection in the dark TV screen, pulled back hair, blazer still on, lips slightly parted like my body had forgotten how to close itself. On the coffee table, my phone lit up again. A text from Ethan. "Did you get my message? Love you." I felt something twist. Not heartbreak. Not grief. Something colder. Like my mind had stepped into a clean, bright room and shut the door behind it. "No," I said, mostly to myself. "No stage, no performance." Marisol crouched in front of me. "Amber, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you're safe here." Safe. I almost laughed. Because safe didn't exist anymore, not in the way it used to. I stood up abruptly. "I need to make calls." Marisol blinked. "Now?" "If I don't do it now, I'll talk myself out of it," I said. "And if I talk myself out of it, I'll end up back there, begging a man who mocked me to explain why he thought I deserved it." That made her face change, tighten. "Okay," she said, voice firm. "Tell me what you need." I didn't answer. I pulled my laptop out of my bag and opened it like I was back at work. Like this was a fraud investigation and I was building a case file. Because that's what it was. A fraud. A relationship built on false statements and hidden intent. Step 1. Money. Ethan and I kept one joint account for household expenses. Mortgage payments were done, but we still shared utilities, condo fees, groceries. Everything else was separate. I logged into online banking. The numbers didn't blur, they sharpened. I transferred my portion out of the joint account, leaving exactly half of the monthly costs. No more, no less. A clean cut, a message. I'm not stealing, I'm not punishing, I'm done. Step 2, housing. Technically, our condo lease was under both our names. Breaking it would be messy, unless the landlord was willing to cooperate. I called him. He answered on the second ring. "Amber?" he said, surprised. "Everything all right?" I heard myself speak in a calm, emotionless voice that didn't feel like mine. "I need to break the lease," I said. "Irreconcilable domestic issues. I can be out immediately." Silence. Then, quietly, "I'm sorry to hear that. You've been a model tenant. What are you thinking?" "The contract says 6 months penalty," I said, "but I'm hoping we can negotiate." He sighed like he already knew what this meant. "I can do 2 months," he said. "If you're out by the end of the week and the place is left clean, I'll keep your deposit as part of it." I swallowed. Relief tried to creep in. I didn't let it. "Thank you," I said. "I'll email you confirmation today." Step 3, the ring. I opened my tote bag and took out the velvet box. It felt heavier than it should have. Not because of the diamond. Because of what it represented. A promise. A future. My future. And the way Ethan had laughed about it like it was a joke. I didn't want the diamond. I wanted the message. So I did what anyone with a broken heart and a forensic brain does. I Googled pawn shop near me. The first one had decent reviews. 30 minutes away. I drove there with the ring burning a hole through my bag like it was radioactive. The shop smelled like metal and old velvet, like someone's past regrets were stored in the air. Behind the counter was an older man with sharp eyes and no patience for drama. Looking to sell? He asked. I placed the box down, opened it, and slid it toward him. His eyebrows rose when he saw the stone. Well, he murmured, lifting it into the light, that's a nice piece. He inspected it carefully, turning it, checking the setting, glancing at the certification papers I'd brought without even thinking. How much? I asked. He looked at me like I was the strangest part of the transaction. Recently purchased? 6 months ago. He whistled. You're gonna hate me. Try me. He wrote a number on a slip of paper and pushed it across. $9,500. My stomach gave a single sharp twist. The ring had cost Ethan over $20,000, but I didn't flinch. Because this wasn't about money. It was about symbolism. It was about turning his laugh into a receipt. Deal, I said. He blinked. No negotiation? No. He processed the paperwork, handed me cash and an itemized receipt. I stared at the receipt, the clean black ink, the proof, and I felt something close to satisfaction. Not joy, not relief, just the smallest sense of control. When I left the shop, my hands finally trembled. Not with fear, with adrenaline. Back at Marisol's, I didn't sit down. I started packing like I was a machine. I drove back to the condo when I knew Ethan would be gone, his work schedule predictable, his routines annoyingly consistent. The condo felt different now. Not home. A set. A stage where Ethan performed devotion while rehearsing cruelty behind the curtain. I didn't cry. I moved methodically. Clothes first, work essentials, important documents. But then my eyes landed on our frame photos. Vacation photos. Holiday selfies. A picture of us in front of a Christmas tree. Ethan's arm around my waist, like he owned the moment. I took only what mattered to me. Photos of my parents. Photos of my little sister. Anything that was mine before him or mine without him. I didn't break anything. Didn't smash plates. Didn't throw a single object. That kind of chaos would have made me feel weak later, and I refused to give him that satisfaction. 3 trips to Marisol's later, the condo looked hollow, like someone had removed the oxygen. Then came the part I wasn't proud of. The part that wasn't logistical. The part that was revenge. I opened our shared cloud storage. The folder was full of 3 years of us. Trips, birthdays, random videos of us cooking, screenshots of sweet messages Ethan sent when he wanted to feel like a good man. I downloaded everything that belonged to me. Then I did something precise and cruel. I deleted every photo of us together. Every vacation. Every holiday. Every casual moment where his hand touched my shoulder like he loved me. Gone. I left his solo photos. His selfies. His gym pics. His work event shots. He could keep his history. But our history? Erased. Next, I opened our shared calendar. We had wedding-related entries, venue tours, caterer tastings, appointment reminders. I didn't delete those. No. Instead, I added new entries. Detailed ones. Fertility clinic appointments. Adoption agency consultations. Things Ethan and I had never discussed. Times and locations precise enough to make him wonder, what else did I miss? In the kitchen, I found his favorite bottle of wine, a ridiculously expensive one he'd been saving for later. I poured a single glass. Just one. And I left it on the counter with a lipstick mark on the rim. My lipstick. A mark that shouldn't exist, because I'd supposedly been gone. A tiny, impossible detail designed to make him feel what I felt. Off balance. Uncertain. Questioning reality. Then I moved to his work laptop. He always left it at home. Always left it unlocked. Because Ethan trusted me completely. Or maybe he just trusted his own story too much to imagine I'd ever rewrite it. I opened his email. Drafts. I created a new draft with the subject line. My big news. Inside, I typed a detailed announcement about his decision to leave his job and relocate. Something dramatic. Something that would make his stomach drop. I didn't send it. I saved it and closed the laptop. I wasn't trying to destroy him. Not fully. I was trying to leave footprints in the snow. Proof that I'd been there. Proof that I knew. Proof that I could have ruined him, but chose precision instead. Finally, I took the velvet ring box, placed the pawn shop receipt inside, and on top of it, a handwritten note. 4 words written in neat, calm letters. Hope your ex can afford to buy it back. I placed it on his pillow, where his head would land, where he couldn't pretend he didn't see it. Then I left my key on the kitchen counter, walked out, locked the door, and for the first time since the staircase, I felt my throat burn. Not from tears, from the scream I refused to give him. I got into my car, And I waited, because I didn't block his number. I wanted to hear the panic. I wanted to hear the performance begin, and know he was doing it for an empty house. The first call came at 7:23 p.m. His name flashed across my screen like a ghost. I didn't answer. A minute later, a text. Amber, what is this receipt? Where are you? Then another. This isn't funny. Call me back right now. Then another. Whatever you think you heard, you misunderstood. And that one hit like a knife. Because he didn't say he hadn't done it. He said I misunderstood, as if the problem was my comprehension, not his cruelty. By midnight, he'd left 17 voicemails, sent 34 texts. Confusion first, then panic, then anger, then bargaining. And I sat on Marisol's couch, listening to them one by one, feeling my heart turn into something unrecognizable. Marisol watched me carefully. Amber, do you want me to say anything if he calls here? No, I said, voice flat. Let him talk to the silence. She hesitated. What if there's some explanation? I looked up at her, and I swear the room felt colder. Explain to me, I said softly, how mocking my love is ever an accident. Marisol had no answer. Neither did I. But somewhere deep inside, a new thought began to form. Quiet as a whisper, sharp as a needle. Ethan sounded panicked. Not guilty, not caught. Panicked, like a man whose mask had slipped. But not in the way I expected. And that tiny crack in certainty was the first foreshadowing of the truth I didn't know yet. That what I overheard on that staircase would not be the full story, not even close. I thought silence would bring peace. Instead, it brought questions. 10 days passed. 10 days of sleeping on Marisol's couch, waking up disoriented, my body still expecting Ethan's weight beside me. 10 days of going to work like nothing had happened, of reviewing financial statements while my own life felt like a corrupted file. Ethan didn't stop trying. The messages changed tone. The anger evaporated. The panic sharpened into desperation. Please just talk to me. I don't understand what you think I did. Amber, I would never hurt you like that. That last one almost made me laugh. Almost. Marisol watched it all with growing concern. One night, as I stared at my phone like it might bite me, she finally said, He sounds genuinely confused. Actors usually do, I replied. But even as I said it, doubt slithered in. Because I'd heard Ethan lie before. Small things, harmless things. Forgetting to mention a drink after work. Downplaying a purchase. But what I'd heard on that staircase, that had been performative, loud, exaggerated, like he wanted to be overheard by someone who wasn't me. I pushed the thought away until the email arrived. It came late at night. Subject line stark against the dark screen. You need to know the truth. The sender was Sienna. My first instinct was to delete it. She'd been complicit, laughing, encouraging him. Her voice had been part of the knife. But curiosity, damn it. Curiosity has always been my weakness. I opened it. Amber, you don't know me well, and you don't owe me anything, but I can't live with this anymore. What Ethan said on the phone that day wasn't true. He has not slept with Nadia. He couldn't have. Nadia moved to Australia 5 years ago, before you and Ethan even met. She's married. She has a baby. She hasn't been back to the States once since she left. My breath hitched. I read it again. Slower. Then again. My fingers went cold. Sienna continued. I follow Nadia on Instagram. We were in the same study group in college. She posts constantly. Sydney, her wife, their kid, their house by the beach. Ethan was lying. He said it to sound exciting. To impress me. To impress people like me. That doesn't make it okay. What he said about you was cruel and humiliating. But he didn't cheat. I thought you deserved to know. The room felt like it tilted. I stared at the screen so long my eyes burned. This wasn't relief. This was something worse. Because cheating would have been clean. Clear. Unforgivable, but simple. This meant the betrayal wasn't physical. It was psychological. I did what I always do when emotions threaten to overwhelm logic. I investigated. I opened Instagram. Typed Nadia Collins into the search bar. Her profile came up immediately. Private, but her profile photo told enough of a story to punch me in the chest. A woman with sunlit hair, standing barefoot on a beach, holding a baby with one arm, while another woman kissed her cheek. The location tag read, Sydney, Australia. I scrolled through tagged photos. Harbor views. A wedding announcement from 3 years ago. A caption under a photo of the baby. Still can't believe this is our life. The dates lined up, painfully perfectly. Nadia hadn't been in the same country as Ethan since before he met me. My hands shook, not with rage, but with vertigo. Because the foundation of my certainty had just collapsed. I found her email through a mutual professional contact, hesitated for a full minute before writing. Then typed, Hi Nadia, I know this is strange, but I need to ask you something directly. Ethan told someone he still sleeps with you when I'm out of town. I just need confirmation from you that this isn't true. Her reply came faster than I expected. Amber. What? I've been in Australia for 5 years, married for 3. I have no idea why Ethan would say something like that. He messaged my wife on Instagram yesterday, actually, panicking, saying his life was ruined because of something involving me. I haven't seen him since before you two met. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. I closed my laptop slowly. The silence pressed in. Marisol watched my face change and stood up immediately. What happened? I handed her the phone. She read the email, then the Instagram page. Her mouth fell open. Oh my God, she whispered. So he lied about cheating? Yes, I said. My voice sounded far away. But he didn't lie about despising me. Because that part, the mockery, the contempt, the way he called me boring, stable, useful, that part was real. I thought about the revenge I'd executed. The ring. The files. The psychological breadcrumbs. At the time, it felt proportionate. Justified. Now? Now it felt misaligned. Not wrong, but misdirected. I called Marisol's name softly. If he lied to seem exciting, who was he trying to be exciting for? She didn't answer immediately. Then, carefully, people who would never respect him if he was happy. That night, I barely slept. Ethan's voicemails replayed in my mind with new context. The confusion. The frantic tone. The way he kept saying, I don't understand what you think I did. He hadn't been gaslighting. Not entirely. He'd been panicking because the lie he told to feel powerful had detonated his real life. The next morning, I checked my phone. A new message from Ethan. Not a call. Not a plea. Just 4 words. Please let me explain. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back. 1 hour, public place, no expectations. His reply came instantly. Thank you. And for the first time since the staircase, my chest ached. Not with betrayal, but with the terrifying realization that I might have destroyed something that hadn't been cheating. Just deeply, fundamentally broken in a different way. Stop. Continue part 4. The 1 hour truth. I chose the coffee shop deliberately. Bright windows, neutral territory. The kind of place where people talked loudly enough that silence couldn't swallow you whole. A place where emotions had to stay contained, or at least disguised. I arrived 10 minutes early. Old habit. Control what you can when everything else feels unstable. Ethan was already there. That alone unsettled me. He sat at a small table near the window, hands wrapped around a mug like it was the only thing anchoring him to the chair. He looked different, thinner. His shoulders slumped forward instead of squared. Dark circles carved into the skin beneath his eyes. His hair was unstyled, like he'd stopped caring how he was perceived. Or maybe like he finally realized perception wasn't the same as worth. When he saw me, he stood too quickly and knocked his knee into the table. Amber, he said, voice rough. I nodded once and sat down across from him. I have an hour, I said calmly. I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to forgive you. I'm here to understand. He swallowed hard. That's more than I deserve. Probably, I replied. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't charged the way I expected. It was heavy. Like we were both aware that whatever was said next would permanently define the past. Finally, Ethan exhaled shakily. What I said on the phone, he began, staring into his coffee, was a lie. I know, I said. His head snapped up, eyes wide. You do? Sienna emailed me. I spoke to Nadia. I verified everything. Something in his posture collapsed. Relief and shame tangled together. I didn't cheat on you, he said quickly. I never have. Not once. Not with her. Not with anyone. I held his gaze. But you wanted someone to believe you did. Yes, he whispered. And that's the part I hate myself for. I waited. He ran a hand through his hair, breath uneven. My college friends, Sienna, the others, they're obsessed with drama, affairs, divorce, chaos. They mock stability like it's weakness. Every time we talked, they'd roll their eyes when I mentioned you, our life. They'd say things like, must be nice to be boring. He laughed once, bitterly. I started feeling like I was disappearing around them, like I didn't have a story worth telling. So you invented one, I said. He nodded. At first it was just exaggeration. Jokes. Then it turned into that. I leaned back slightly. You humiliated me to feel interesting. Yes. The honesty landed harder than any excuse would have. He continued, voice cracking. When you left without a word, I thought I was losing my mind. I couldn't understand how everything exploded so fast. I didn't soften. You weren't confused about what you said, I told him. You were confused that I didn't stay. His eyes filled with tears. He didn't wipe them away. You're right, he said. I thought you were safe. I thought no matter what I said behind your back, you'd still be there. That was it. The core. Not cheating. Not lust. Entitlement. I nodded slowly. That's the betrayal. He flinched like I'd struck him. I know, he said, and I deserve what you did. I studied him carefully. Do you? He hesitated. Most of it. That surprised me. You rearranged my work files, he continued quietly. I went into court unprepared. I looked incompetent. My supervisor noticed. I found the email draft on my laptop and thought I'd lost my mind. And the wine glass. He shook his head. I installed security cameras. I thought someone was breaking in. I felt a flicker of guilt, small, sharp. And the ring? I asked. His jaw tightened. I went to the pawn shop the next morning, bought it back, paid more than you sold it for. He reached into his bag and placed the velvet box on the table between us. I didn't bring it to manipulate you, he said quickly. I didn't want it sitting there like evidence of how stupid I was. I didn't touch it. Keep it, I said. He looked up. Amber. It's not an engagement ring anymore, I said calmly. It's a reminder. Do whatever gives you closure. He nodded slowly, understanding settling into his features. We sat there until the hour was nearly up. No yelling. No promises. Just two people standing in the wreckage, naming the pieces. At the end, Ethan asked softly, Is there any chance, ever? I stood, shouldering my bag. I don't know, I said honestly. Trust doesn't break because of one lie. It breaks because of what the lie reveals. I paused. If we ever speak again, it won't be to rebuild what we had. It would be to see if something healthier could exist. But not now. He didn't argue. He just nodded. We parted with a brief, careful hug, like two people acknowledging an ending, rather than begging for a continuation. As I walked out into the sunlight, my chest felt strangely light. Not healed, but clear. Because for the first time since the staircase, I knew exactly what I'd lost. And exactly why. 3 months passed. Not quietly. Not easily. But deliberately. I moved into my own apartment, a clean, sunlit place with too much white space and no shared memories echoing in the corners. The first night there, I slept on a mattress on the floor and woke up disoriented, reaching for a body that wasn't there. And for once, that didn't feel like loss. It felt like withdrawal. I changed my schedule at work, requested fewer travel-heavy cases, not because Ethan asked. He didn't, but because I realized how much of my life I'd outsourced to momentum. Airports, deadlines, forward motion as avoidance. I started climbing again. Actual rock climbing. An indoor gym at first, then weekends outside the city. My hands blistered. My forearms burned. And every time I reached the top of a route, shaking and breathless, I felt something click back into place. Agency. Ethan stayed quiet after our meeting. No late-night confessions, no grand gestures. Just distance, and that mattered more than any apology. When we did speak again, 2 weeks later, it was brief, measured, about logistics, about returning a few items we'd missed. He didn't push, didn't hint, didn't ask. That restraint told me more than all his explanations combined. Over time, the conversations changed. Short check-ins became longer ones. We talked about therapy, his, and then mine. About why validation from the wrong people feels addictive. About how my parents' volatile marriage taught me to equate deception with catastrophe, and how that hair trigger response had shaped my exit strategy. We weren't rebuilding. We were excavating. One evening, about 3 months in, Ethan asked if I wanted to get coffee. Just coffee. No labels. No expectations. I said yes. He looked healthier, calmer, like someone who had stopped performing and started existing. We talked like strangers who knew each other too well. And that's when we made the rules. No shared finances. No moving back in. No assumptions about forever. If we dated, it would be slow, transparent, optional at every step. If either of us feels disrespected, I said, we speak up immediately. No audiences. No jokes at the other's expense. He nodded. And if I ever feel the urge to impress someone by diminishing you, you walk away from that room, I finished. Or from me. He agreed without hesitation. The ring stayed with him. Not as a promise. As a warning. A physical reminder of how easily something valuable can be lost. Not through malice, but through carelessness and ego. I don't know if Ethan and I will make it long term. I do know this. Whatever we become now will be built on consent, not assumption. On respect, not performance. People asked if my revenge went too far. The truth? Some of it probably did. The rearranged files, the psychological misdirection, those crossed into warfare. But the silence, the ring, the clean exit, those were boundaries. What I regret isn't leaving. It's not pausing long enough to verify my facts before executing the plan. One conversation, just one, might have revealed the truth sooner. It wouldn't have erased the betrayal, but it might have saved us weeks of unnecessary damage. Still, I don't regret choosing myself, because the real betrayal wasn't the lie about cheating. It was the moment Ethan treated my love like a joke to earn someone else's approval. That revelation changed me, and maybe that rupture, violent as it was necessary. Sometimes relationships don't end because they're beyond repair. Sometimes they end because they need to be rebuilt from the foundation up. Whether Ethan and I succeed doesn't matter as much as this. I no longer confuse dignity with silence, or loyalty with endurance. I know exactly what I deserve, and whoever walks beside me next, whether it's him or someone else, will know it too.